Okay, we're going to get started with Chancellor Roberts.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate your joining us. Welcome to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I think most people here would agree there is no more important home for college basketball than Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The heart of college basketball beats here. That's been true for at least 70 years, and we're going to keep it that way. Our job, our mission, for me and Bubba and Steve and now for Coach Malone, is to make sure that the best days of this legendary program lie ahead. We're delighted to welcome Michael and Jocelyn here to Chapel Hill, but they're already members of the Tar Heel family. They've been wonderful parents, supporters, and fans. We're overjoyed that they're here. I really want to thank Steve Newmark and Bubba Cunningham for their work on the search, and also our board chair, Malcolm Turner, the incoming Rams Club chair, Vaughn Moore, and of course, Tar Heel legend, Antoine Jameson, all of whom spent significant time and effort on the search. Some of you know that our commencement speaker is Eric Church, singer, songwriter, massive Tar Heel sports fan. Eric Church has a lyric that goes, "Most days in life won't matter, but life's about the days that will." I'm confident that in the long and noble history of our men's basketball program, this is a day that will matter for decades to come. Thank you all again for being here. I'll turn it over to Bubba. Go Heels.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Roberts. Thank you all for being here. It is a great day to be a Tar Heel. I would like to thank an awful lot of people. So, Chancellor has already mentioned the search committee that has been such a big part of the last couple of weeks in identifying incredible talent and landing a great coach for Carolina. There are a number of other advisors throughout the process, former players, Coach Williams, and many that provide important feedback and perspective during this entire process, and we thank them very much for their effort and their time that they put into this. I want to thank Chad Chatlos from Turnkey ZRG Partners and his assistants in the search process as well. And then I have a lot more thank yous of folks in the university that I want to go through them by name because they put this entire event together for us today. Our system office president, Peter Hans, has been instrumental in this process. Our board of trustees, as mentioned, led by Malcolm Turner, absolutely fabulous, plus the rest of the trustees have been very helpful in the process. Chancellor Roberts, thank you for entrusting this search to myself and to Steve. We really appreciate your leadership and the direction that you have provided as well. In the Chancellor's office, there's many people that have helped. Chris McClure, Nate Knuffman, Christy Hurt, and Dean Stoyer. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication on behalf of the university. From the General Counsel's office, Paul Newton and Marla Bowman have been instrumental in getting things to the finish line as well. And to our athletic department staff, Sean May, Eric Hoots, Clint Gwaltney, Robbie Pickerel-Evans, Katie Berger, Dan Forsella, Steve Kirshner, and Ken Cleary. It took a lot of people, and it took a lot of alignment to get us to this outstanding moment, and I want to thank all of you for that incredible effort. When we began our search, we knew it had to be deliberate. We had to consider the best coaches in the country, whether they were in professional sports or college. We wanted to make sure we found the very best leader to carry this tradition forward and make Carolina basketball incredible into a new era of college athletics. I've worked very closely for the last 9 months with Steve Newmark, and I really want to give him a special thank you today for the timeless and energetic and professional effort that he put into this job search, and he led the search. His ability to gather information, to communicate with our search committee, and ultimately had led us to an incredible coach. I can't thank you enough, and congratulations, Steve. It has been a marvelous couple of weeks to work with you. Coach, welcome. We are so glad that you are here. Larry Brown is the only coach that has won a national championship and won an NBA championship. You have won an NBA championship already, and I've asked our staff to start moving those banners so that we can hang another. I don't want to put any pressure on you.
No pressure, Bubba. No
But
pressure.
they're starting to move them tomorrow. Please welcome Steve Newmark.
Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, Bubba. So I have the easiest job here. I get to introduce the new leader of Carolina basketball, Coach Michael Malone. But before I hand the microphone to him, I thought maybe I would expand and elaborate a little bit on the search process and how we got here. Bubba alluded to the search committee that we convened, and when that process started, we knew that our mandate was to find the most elite basketball coach that would be the right fit for Carolina. So as you can imagine, we cast a fairly wide net, college, pros, there's a lot of elite coaches out there. And we started with a fairly long list, but even at that point, we had a select few that were at the top. And the way that we actually started the process is where we ended the process. So I had reached out to Coach Pat Sullivan and asked him for Michael Malone's number because we knew that they had a relationship, and obviously Coach Malone has spent a lot of time here in the last semester at practice and with his daughter. So I reached out to Coach Malone. We talked for about an hour, and what stood out right away is that he's a basketball encyclopedia. He went through almost every player on our current roster, their strengths, weaknesses. He also probably listed every UNC alum that had ever come from New York City pipeline, starting, I think, with Frank McGuire. And so we got towards the end of the conversation, and he said, Steve, I appreciate the call. When Sully told me you were going to give me a ring, I thought it was a courtesy call. You were doing him a favor. He said, I really haven't been contemplating the college landscape. I've got a lot of love and passion for UNC, but this is something that really wasn't on my radar screen at the time. So we then had another conversation the next day, got into a little more depth about what this place is, what we have in front of us. And to me, those conversations, and then every conversation that he had with search committee members and others after it, everybody came to the same conclusion, that Coach Malone is the ideal fit for this university. And so interestingly, early in the search process, I leaned quite a bit on Coach Williams, Coach Fogler, and Kenny Smith. I think we spoke every other night during the 2-week process. And at the beginning, Coach Fogler said to me, hey, we can best help you in the search committee if you share with us what you're looking for in a coach. And so it was actually a fairly easy exercise, and came back and talked to 3 of them and said, first and foremost, they need to be an elite teacher, innovator, strategist, and leader. And that's really following in the mold of Coach Smith, Coach Guthridge, and Coach Williams. Second, they need to kind of display and possess the character and integrity that's consistent with our university and our principles. And then third, they need to believe in, not just acknowledge and recognize, they need to believe in the importance of the Carolina family and the Carolina tradition and what that means to the UNC community. And we talked about a quote that I'd read recently in a book by Thad Williamson, who's a Chapel Hill native, and he said something along the lines of, there are so many people in North Carolina, whether they played sports here, whether they actually attended this university, who believe that they have been positively and profoundly impacted by UNC basketball. And we wanted a coach that would embrace that and recognize that that was part of their mission. And for us, Coach Malone exemplifies every single one of those. He checked every single box. And so obviously we continued through the process, and we got towards the end, and thankfully Coach Malone and Jocelyn said this is where they wanted to be. And so we were absolutely convinced during that process that Coach Malone and his family are going to represent us with class and integrity. And as Bubba mentioned, I fully expect to see more banners hanging there and more jerseys hanging back there. So Coach Malone, thank you for kind of entrusting us and coming to join us, and I want to officially welcome you into the Tar Heel family.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, I'd like to start off by thanking Chancellor Roberts, Bubba, no pressure, Bubba, I appreciate that, and Steve Newmark, obviously leading up this process to get here today, Malcolm Turner, Vaughn Moore, Antoine Jameson on the search committee. And as I told Antoine the other day, I had a chance to coach Antoine many years ago in Cleveland. And I never take it lightly when somebody believes in you and they endorse you and they feel that strong to put their name behind you. And that's what Antoine did. That's what Kenny Smith did. That's what a lot of players that were here were able to do. So I want to thank those three members of the search committee for having the belief in me. And there's really, I met him for the first time today, but I feel like I've known this person for 10 years. It's Coach Roy Williams and your beautiful wife, Wanda. I really appreciate you guys making the effort to be here today. It means the world to me. And what became crystal clear to me when I talked to Coach was how important this university was to him. And I could feel the passion in his voice. I'm not from North Carolina. I didn't play here. I'm coming from outside the family to be a new member of the family. And we're excited about that. But Coach, you had a profound impact. And every time I spoke to you and I said, Coach, I'm not coming, I'm staying in the NBA. And every time I thought about it, I talked to my wife, Jocelyn, I'd say, you know what? This is North Carolina. This is Roy Williams. This is Dean Smith. This is Coach Guthridge. And I wanted to be a part of something so much bigger than me. And to have you here means the world. I want to say thank you. I also want to thank my daughter, Bridget. I did not come here for her. I know that's a narrative. Everybody says I'm coming here so I can watch my daughter play volleyball under Coach Shaw. But I'm happy to share this with you. You know, we call her Bridie. And my beautiful wife, Jocelyn, who's been with me every step of the way. And when I said, I'm going to take the job, she said, well, let's go. And she's done that every step of the way, and I love you and I thank you. You guys always talk about it's a good day to be a Tar Heel. I think Bubba said it. For me, it's a great day to be a Tar Heel. Really thankful for this opportunity. I do not take it lightly. And people keep asking me, Coach, why would you leave a chance of coaching in the NBA again? You're an NBA coach. You won a championship in Denver in 2023. It wasn't an easy decision, but what I kept thinking about was I have a chance to be a part of something special, the history and tradition, to be a part of something much bigger than myself, as I said a few minutes ago. This was the only college job I'd ever consider. You know, if any other job, I wouldn't even answer the phone. And what Steve didn't tell you, if you want to know something about Steve Newmark, persistence defined. You know, that guy would not take no for an answer. I made a decision, I felt good about it, and Steve said, can we fly to your house on Easter Sunday? And we spent 5 hours together along with Eric Hoots, had a great meeting, and my dog didn't bite him, so he knew he was okay. And that night, we talked for a while, my wife and I, we made the decision to come here. So I do really appreciate that, Steve, for you allowing me to see what this opportunity means. And I appreciate all the players showing up over here. I met with them this afternoon for a little bit, and I told them my vision. I told them what I expect from them, our style of play, and what our culture is going to be. And you know, I want guys to commit to that, buy into that, and if we do that, then you can start talking about banners. But my only goal is to get better every day. And if you do that every single day, you put yourself in a position to have that success. And as I said in the NBA many times, I'll say it here again today, I don't want to just have success. Coach Belichick is here, I believe, one of the greatest coaches of all time. I appreciate you being here. You talk about sustained success, excellence, doing it year in and year out. That's what I want to bring to this table. And Steve mentioned innovation. I am an outsider coming into a really intimate family. I have to balance the delicate balance of being true to the past and honoring tradition while also having my eyes on the future. The game is always changing. And so if you see us doing things a little bit differently, it's okay. Embrace that. It's okay. All right? You can see I have Dean Smith, his lapel pin here. Tremendous amount of respect for what this program and the history that they occupy in NCAA basketball history. But we're going to do it our way. I'm going to use people like Coach Williams, Coach Eddie Fogler, Pat Sullivan, Sean May, all the guys that are here, and learn from them and push forward. I've said too much already. I know we're going to open it up to Q&A. My last message is this: thank you for being here tonight. Really excited to get to work. We got a lot of things going on right now with the transfer portal, talking to my players right here, getting out on the recruiting trail, hiring a staff, finding a place to live, all those things. So I think Coach Shaw is going to put us up for a little bit, right, Mike? All right. But thank you very much, and look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, Coach. We're going to take a quick photo of the four principals together. Jeff, when we get started, Greg Barnes, you'll start on this side, and then Shelby, you'll start on the mic on that side. All right, again, if you would please identify yourself, name and outlet, and we'll get started with Greg and then Shelby and then Andrew. Go ahead, Greg.
Michael, Greg Barnes with Inside Carolina. There's been a strong support already the past 24 hours from the Carolina basketball family members. There's been a lot of references to the Carolina basketball family already in the press conference. Have you been able to get your hands kind of around the concept of the family and the value that it provides for this job?
Yeah, I think so, and I appreciate the question. As I mentioned, going through this process, a guy like Antoine Jamison, Kenny Smith, who were calling me, endorsing me, believing in me. Yesterday, getting messages from guys like Harrison Barnes and Jawad Williams and Danny Green, players who obviously played here and who I had a chance to coach in the NBA. But I think this program and its connection to the past and the players that come back, Eric Cooch brought up to my office around 10 to 12 former players that did not have to be here today. I did not play here. I'm not from Carolina, but I think they're ready to embrace somebody new with a new vision to try to get this program back to where we all want it to be. But I think family is important. That's something we talked a lot about in Denver. And I think even more important at the college landscape, because you're talking about young men coming into a program and having that family atmosphere. And that's something that you can talk about it, but it's really something that you have to feel and build every single day. And that's why I wanted to start off meeting with the players today, for them to hear from me, to get a feel from me. They know me because I came to practices in the fall, but that relationship with the players and them with the head coach is so important, and I think it's something I'm only going to get better at and build on.
Shelby and then Andrew and Noah right next to each other. Shelby.
Shelby Swanson with the News and Observer. Just curious, obviously just got here, but the portal is ongoing, so curious to hear your thoughts on your vision and process moving forward with roster building in respects to going through the high school ranks, but then also building through the transfer portal.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot to learn, and obviously I'm going to surround myself with people. I do know that Jim Tanner, Buzz Peterson, Sean May, a lot of these guys have been working tirelessly, with putting together all this information, and I felt bad today because they were waiting to meet, and I'd walk by their office, and they had me going from here, there, and everywhere. But we have some players on our roster that are currently in the portal. We're going to talk to them more about that in the coming days, and then we'll look to see what's available outside. And again, when I coached in college many years ago, this wasn't a thing, so I'm going to surround myself with the best people possible to help me get a better grasp on it so we can attack it. And as I hire my staff, I want to hire guys that have great contacts, not only in the country, but around the world, so we can continue to bring the best players here and help them develop so we can field the best team.
Andrew, then Noah.
Andrew Jones, Tar Heel 24/7. When you were at those practices back in the fall, did you ever kind of think, like, maybe I would like to coach these kids. I'd like to maybe be in college, do something a little bit different. And at the same time, what intrigues you about coaching a college player as opposed to a pro player?
Yeah, for the first part, I can't say when I was here at the practices that I thought about, maybe I'd like to coach in the college again, but I had been fired last April. And for me, I realized, and what really resonated within me was being back in a gym, in a classroom setting. The best coaches in the world are teachers. And so to be around the staff and the players and watching them work hard to get ready for their season, meeting with the coaches, giving them some insights, asking questions, offering some insights and maybe some recommendations. But that's what really resonated, is that I love this game. I have a passion for the game of basketball. I have a passion for teaching the game of basketball, which I learned from my father. And obviously, one thing I did not mention earlier is that my father, who passed about 2 years ago, was a huge Carolina fan and a huge Dean Smith fan, and he passed that on to me. And I know he's looking down today, and he's very, very proud. And I wish he was here. And then I already forgot your second question, so remind me.
What intrigues you about coaching college players?
Yeah. So in the NBA, obviously, it's all about relationships. I don't care where you are, what sport, what level. It comes down to your ability to relate and have a meaningful relationship with those that are around you, coach, player. And in the NBA, you have that, but it's a little bit more of a business. You're getting older players, guys that are married, maybe have kids. I look over here to see all these players that showed up today. They're looking for more than that. They don't want me just to help them become a better basketball player. They want somebody that's going to mentor them and help them become the best young men that they possibly can be. And that's something that I do not take lightly, and I look forward to doing. We have some, young players coming into the program, and I want to be there for them. I want to help them develop in a full package, not just as a player because we want to win games, but I want that player to keep coming back because he knows that we had their best interests in heart in all factors of their life.
Noah, then Rod.
Michael, Noah Weisskopf with Tar Heel 24/7. Obviously, there's some pretty key differences in coaching in the NBA versus coaching in college. I'm curious what you think some of those are specifically, and building off a little of Andrew's question, what might be different in your eyes from coaching a young NBA player versus maybe coaching a college athlete?
Well, I still don't understand why college basketball is the only level that plays 2 20-minute halves. So, I got to get my head around that. But I think at the end of the day, basketball is basketball, and players, not only do they want to be coached, but they also want to know that you care about them. We used to say in the NBA, players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I believe that, and I buy into that. But once again, as I continue to build a staff and have great coaches around me that can not only help me, but also challenge me to become the best coach that I can be at this level. And, I have no doubt that's going to be a process that, I attack. And obviously, I think I have a really good job. I've done a good job of showing that I'm more than capable of coaching at any level. We had great success in Denver, and I have the utmost confidence that the same success is going to follow here to Carolina.
In the second row, Rod, then Murph.
Michael, Rod Baxley, Fayetteville Observer. You touched on the Carolina family a little bit there. Even before this process, what was a conversation or experience you had with the Carolina family that's kind of always stuck with you?
Well, I mentioned earlier, the players that I have coached, and, I think Steve mentioned this. I coached Antoine Jamison and Danny Green in Cleveland for 26 games and 21 games. Think about that. I didn't coach him for 5-6 seasons. 26 games, and Antoine Jamison, all these years later, remembers our time together, and not only in my ability as a coach, but how I carried myself and how I demanded and held guys accountable, and that stuck with him. So I see Danny Green. I was working for ESPN this year, and we were together a few times, and just that connection. And then what I've always marveled at is for players to show up today to introduce themselves to a new coach they don't even know. Tyler Hansbrough grabbed me by the arm and said, "I'm so happy you're here. I know we're gonna play hard and we're gonna be tough." But that's not lost on me. That means the world to me, that these players, and I challenge the former players that were in my office. Yes, I know I'm not a guy that has been here before, but I want to do everything I can to make sure the former players are coming back. Because they all said to me, it's not like it used to be. So one of my goals is not just on the court, wins and losses, but how can I even strengthen that family atmosphere and get guys coming back and help pay it forward, because you always want to pay it forward to the guys that are coming next after you. And I think we're going to have a great chance to do that.
Staying here in the second row, Brian Murphy, then Brendan.
Yeah, Brian Murphy, WRL. Chancellor and Steve, you talked about the heart
Thank
of
you, by the way. There's other people up here. Thank you.
You're welcome, Coach. Lee, you talked about basketball, being the heartbeat of this place, and this place being the heartbeat of college basketball. And I wonder, when you went out and looked for coaches, if that was the same feeling you were getting from some of the people you talked to. We heard a lot about how blue bloods are dead in the era of NIL. I wondered what your experience was going out and trying to sell Carolina basketball to others.
Yeah, I'll let Steve talk to this in more detail, but I think we were pretty gratified by the reaction we got. I think there was an awful lot of interest in the position, and a lot of people recognizing that this is, if not the best, one of the best jobs in all of basketball.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate depiction. I mean, like I mentioned, Brian, we had a list of names, and Chad was leading the search for us from the outside, and the feedback that he would get us is he basically said, this is different than a lot of searches I've done, because everybody I reach out to says they have interest and want to engage. And so it's also part of why, the process extended. But I think as I alluded to, Coach Malone was the first coach we called, the first coach we talked to, and we think we ended in the right place. But I do think that it was reaffirming to us the belief that UNC is a special, unique place, because we had a lot of coaches, NBA and college, say, I wouldn't look anywhere else, but this is different. Let's talk.
Second row, Brendan, and then Spencer with the Masters shirt appropriate in the front row.
Michael, Brendan Marks from The Athletic. Sorry, coming back to you. You mentioned one of the responsibilities you see in taking this position is moving the actual basketball into the future. Just curious, what would you say is your basketball philosophy? What are your priorities going to be? And what trends from your experiences in the NBA do you think are applicable at the college level today?
Well, I mean, somebody asked me earlier, like when I look at players, what am I looking for? And, before you get into percentages and stats, I love guys that have a motor, that play hard, that you don't have to wind up and motivate. So I love self-motivated players that play hard. Toughness, you can't put a dollar sign on toughness. And then IQ. I mean, those are the things that jump out regardless of position, 1 through 5, what you shoot from the foul line, what you shoot from the three-point line. If you have a motor, you're tough, and you have an IQ, you have a chance to be a hell of a player. For me, when I think about the culture that we're going to create here, same culture we had in Cleveland, in Denver rather, because it doesn't matter NBA, college, you can have a strong culture, and that's going to start with being a work team, a team that outworks people, being self-motivated, and I want to surround myself with players that have that kind of a work ethic. I shouldn't have to go to practice and try to motivate you every day. Being a team that is completely selfless, get over yourself, check your ego at the door. We can accomplish a hell of a lot more as a team, we over me. And then the last part is just being a team that trusts one another. Make the open pass, make the right play. And I also have to make sure I'm showing them that I trust my coaches, and I trust them at times. So those are some of the things that, I believe in, and we've had success in the past, and I'm going to take that here. I think if that's your culture, and a culture is something that you have to work on every single day, I think as we put pieces together, we're going to have a chance to have success, because we're going to be about the right things and work on those things every single day.
Spencer here in the front, and then Michael Coe in the third row in the back.
Michael, Spencer Haskell with Inside Carolina. I know that you've spoken on your relationship with Pat Sullivan at length. I was just kind of wondering if you could describe that and expand upon how you guys go back in your relationship.
Yeah, he's a Jersey guy. I mean, like, for better or for worse, he's a Jersey guy. Pat Sullivan is a guy that obviously played here, had a hell of a career. Got to know him in his time in the NBA, and then this past year, we came down here quite a bit to watch the volleyball team and our daughter play. And, Pat, his wife Sarah, his daughter Liv, getting a chance to know them on a much more close relationship has been really meaningful. And he's gone out of his way to do anything he can to help our daughter. That's never lost on Jocelyn and myself. And, Sully's a guy I have tremendous respect for. And, we would also talk a lot this year about, he'd call me up with questions, because I was watching, like, I have to say this, Hubert Davis let me in. This is bittersweet. Coach Davis, he sent me an amazing message yesterday. But he allowed me to come in and watch and be a part of this family, which does not happen very often, if ever. And, I would spend time with the coaches, and as I was rooting for them all year long, Sully and I would talk about, what are you seeing, Coach? What can we do better? What recommendations do you have? And I wish I could have been better help, but Sully's a great guy, a tremendous respect for him, and I'm happy to be able to call him a friend.
Michael Coe on the edge there, and then we'll go back Middle Caroline.
Coach Michael Coe, WCHL, chapelboro.com. When you took some time away from the game over the past year, what did you learn about coaching, about the game itself, about yourself that you can bring into this job?
You make it sound like I had a choice. I was fired. But, I used that time to my advantage, I tell you that. And the first thing I did was to reconnect with my family, to be a better husband, to be a better father. As a coach, as an NBA coach, you miss so many things. You're not able to enjoy and be a part of everything that you want to because you're following your career path. And so that was number one for me was, to be able to come down here. Even though our other daughter in Boulder, Colorado wasn't happy that we were in Chapel Hill every weekend, we loved it. And so to be able to do that and watch the volleyball team play NCAA volleyball at Wisconsin, that was a great treat for my family and I. Obviously, I've been working at ESPN, and obviously, I want to thank all the people at ESPN for the opportunity they gave me. It was tremendous, but those were things. And as I watched games, the game is always changing. How the game was played 5 years ago in the NBA, it's different today. And I touched on that earlier. You want to be ahead of that curve. You do not want to be playing catch up. And, so we'll use some of those things, obviously, as we get into our season. And if we have the right personnel to use some of those things, we'll definitely look to apply it.
Caroline way back in the middle there, and then
Michael,
Chris Lee
in
on the edge.
Caroline Wills, the Greensboro News and Record. I'm just curious, what was that conversation like with your daughter when you told her that you were taking this job? What was her reaction?
No, that's finally a good question. So this process went on for Steve maybe around 10 days. And she had called up. She goes, hey, I'm hearing that your name's being mentioned. Do you have any interest? And I said, I don't think so. And she was, you should do it. You should come. That'd be great. I just think she wanted, to be near her mother a little bit more. And then when it got serious, and I mean this part, sincerely, it's not easy being, my daughter. She was always known as, Coach Malone's daughter, Michael Malone's daughter. No, she's Bridget Malone. And when she came here, she had her own place, her own space to be her. And, so proud of her because this is a tremendous basketball tradition we keep talking about. But what I should also mention, as we all know, it's a tremendous school. And that was one of the reasons she chose to come here, because she's a student athlete and the academics. And so she has crushed it since she's been here. And I asked her, I said, listen, I don't want to come in here and kind of crash your party. You have your thing going on right now, and I don't want this to be something that's going to take away from your spotlight. And then I also told her, I said, listen, you can't hang out Bob's late night. You got to make sure you're getting out of the bars and handling yourself appropriately. And that's from me and Coach Shaw. Yeah. So, we have to make sure that you're living in a fishbowl. But the best part about it, to answer your question finally, is my daughter Bridget, she said, Dad, I want you to come. So I did.
Chris Lee over here on the aisle, and then RL on the front. Chris, then RL.
Hard to follow that one. I'm Chris Lee from WRL as well. Wanted to ask you, I know you said earlier basketball is basketball when it comes down to the style of play, but what does make college uniquely different are the rivalries. And so there will be rivalry games coming up with Duke and NC State. Plus, instead of having a 7-game series, it'll be one-and-done formats in the ACC and NCAA tournaments. I just want to get your thoughts on those and just kind of how different that will be for you as a coach to get ready for that type of format.
I love rivalries. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to get into that. Watching that game at home this year when Seth Trimble hit that corner three, my wife and I were jumping around, and I remember back in Colorado. I mean that sincerely. Our daughter was at the game. She FaceTimed me as they were leaving the arena, and just to be a part of that moment. Life is about moments, and that's a moment that all the Carolina fans, will always remember. But I'm excited to be a part of that rivalry. I want to add to that rivalry. I want to win. And I know that Duke is a program down the road, and they've had success. But, as I said earlier, I didn't come here to be second best. I didn't come here to lose in the first round of the ACC tournament. I came here to win and win at a big level, win at a high level. And if you're a competitor, that's what you want. You don't shy away from that. You don't run from that. You run towards that. And that's how I'm wired. That's in my DNA. And, and our team's going to, take on that character as well.
Time for a few more. A couple right in the front. RL, then Tommy.
RL Bynum, Tar Heel Tribune. What will the style of play of your Carolina teams be, and how, if any, will you tweak that from the style of play of your Nuggets teams? I know that they were known for having tenacious defense.
Oh, tenacious. That's very kind of you. It wasn't tenacious all the time. But, I will say this. I am a defensive-minded coach. I believe defense wins championships. I think everything starts on the defensive end of the floor. Your defense is the beginning of your offense. We didn't rebound well enough this year. Carol, I say we, like I was here, but I'm here now. And so if you can defend and you can rebound, what does that allow you to do? That allows you to get out and run. And I want to be a team that defends, rebounds at a high level, and gets out and run and play at a fast pace, up-tempo basketball and attack before they get set. I don't want to play half-court basketball. We'll be able to do it when you have to, but my goal is through defense and rebounding, we can get out and run and attack. And I think the one thing that stood out from our teams in Denver is how unselfish we were. And that gets back to being selfless, not caring who gets the credit. If there's an open man, make the pass, don't hold the ball. And sharing the ball unites teams. And that's going to be an important piece of it, too, is this being an unselfish team that plays for one another. Because you guys have watched a lot of great basketball here. A lot of teams, they play with each other. There's a big difference, though. The great teams play for each other. And now I want our guys to play for each other each and every night.
Got time for last 4 questions. Please make them quick. Tommy Ashley, then Brooke Pryor.
Coach Tommy Ashley with Inside Carolina. You've mentioned your father, you've mentioned Coach Smith and the other Carolina coaches. Who would be your mentors or sort of coaches you've sort of patterned your game after?
Yeah, obviously it would have to start with my father. Obviously one of 6 kids, born in Astoria, Queens, moved out to Rockville Center. Seeing him as a high school coach at Powell Memorial and as he went through his career, and I was the only one of the 6 kids that wanted to follow in his footsteps, something he tried to talk me out of. He said, "You're too smart to be a coach." And obviously I didn't listen to him. But he was my mentor. He was my role model. And I wanted to emulate my father. And he had a profound impact on me, not just as a coach in my philosophy, but just how I try to carry myself. And then aside from that, I was fortunate to coach with guys like Jeff Van Gundy, who was a tremendous coach, detailed. Guys like Mike Brown, who I spent 5 years with in Cleveland with the Cavaliers, coaching LeBron James and many other great players. But I think as a coach, you take all this in, you learn from people. And when you're a young coach, I want to do all this. And as you get a little bit older and you mature, you realize that you whittle that down and you find out who you are as a coach, what you believe in at your core, and you have to be true to your own personality. So Coach Popovich had a huge impact on me. I never worked for Coach Pop, but he allowed me to become a head coach. If it wasn't for him, I never would have gotten that opportunity. And, so he's another guy that you look at his track record, how he carried himself. And he told me something once when I got my first head job in the NBA with Sacramento. He said, "Listen, be yourself. You're Irish, you're fiery, and you're tough. You can do that only if your players know you love them." And that's I've never forgotten that. So I will be hard on our players. I will hold them accountable, but I'm also going to hug them and love them and know that I have their back. And I think if you're a player and a competitor, that's what you want in a coach.
Third row, Brooke.
Brooke Pryor, ESPN. Michael, you mentioned it being bittersweet, taking over for Hubert Davis and the message that you got from him. Just how did your relationship develop last year, and what are some things that he taught you about UNC basketball that you didn't know before?
Well, I got to know him, to be very honest, through Pat Sullivan and him kind of opening the door. And I had reached out to Sully saying, "Listen, I don't have a job right now. I'm going to be in Chapel Hill quite a bit. I would love to be able to come over to practice and just watch you guys work with your players, practice, And, Sully went to Hubert. And the funny story is the first practice I came in this gym, the manager walked me in and he sat me upstairs, which is where everybody sits. And Hubert looked up and started yelling at the manager. He said, no, down here. And I didn't think anything of it. Then after practice, Sully grabbed me. He said, hey, that's really special. Like, no one is allowed to sit down here. So for Coach Davis to want to allow me to be down there and feel a part of it, to have him invite me to speak to the team after practice meant the world to me, because I know that wasn't something that happened to a guy that is a quote-unquote outsider. And what I loved about when I watched Hubert, and I sent him this message after he got fired, he was so, as Coach Williams would say, daggone passionate about North Carolina. And I respect that. Here's a guy that was putting everything into this program, into these players. And there was one practice where he didn't like how his team was practicing. He kicked the can over and he apologized to me. Coach Malone won a championship. He's got to watch this. And he's a special person. Unfortunately, in this business, as coaches, this is part of it. You don't get a chance to see it through all the time. And, I look forward to reaching out to Hubert and connecting with him. But, what he taught me was, treat this place with respect in regards to all those that came before you. And Hubert lived that every single day.
Last two. Johnny Johnson. Raise your hand, Johnny. Then get you the mic. Last two. Johnny, then Murph.
Coach Malone, John Johnson, WXII. You talked about your family. You introduced and mentioned your family. Talked about the Carolina family. But I wanted to get what your thoughts were on what the Carolina family means to you as you take this job.
Well, that's a work in progress. Obviously this is all brand new. I got out of a plane at 7 a.m. this morning, arrived here around 12, and I've been bouncing around all over the place. And but what I love is that there's, I believe, is it 28 teams, Bubba? There's 28 teams here. We've had great success. We're spending a lot of time talking about Carolina basketball, but you look across this athletic department and all the teams and all the coaches and all the success. I can't wait to have a chance to interact with some of these other coaches, learn from them, talk with them, meet them, get to know them, because as I told, I think, Vaughn Moore and Malcolm Turner the other day, I'm coming here to be a partner. I'm coming here not just to be the coach. I want to immerse myself into the community, into the department. I know Coach Shaw, obviously, and his family very well from our time with our daughter being on their team, but this is an unbelievable athletic department, and the basketball team is obviously a big part of that, but I have tremendous respect for everybody that's here, and I can't wait to get to know all of them.
Last one, Murph, and I apologize if I couldn't get to everybody, but last one, Murph.
Michael, you talked about Steve flying out on Easter Sunday. I wonder what he talked to you about. How did he convince you that, it certainly sounds like you would have had opportunities in the NBA. How did he convince you that Carolina was the place you needed to take this job? And obviously, how did you guys come to terms on a contract?
Well, full disclosure, every time I said no, I was regretting that. I was like, I think I'm making a mistake. Jobs like North Carolina do not come. I told Steve at one point, I know this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This wasn't a situation where I could say, now is not the right time. It's now or never. And so when he came to the house, a lot longer than we wanted him there, on Easter Sunday, and didn't even bring my wife flowers, which was incredible. Just hearing his vision, and talking about the ins and outs of the job. And he said this, and it resonated within me. He wants a partner in this. He's looking to hire a coach that, he's innovative, has character, understands the tradition of excellence here at Carolina, but he also wants to hire a coach that he can be a partner with and build something special. And I'm glad they came out. My first reaction was when they said they wanted to fly from Indianapolis, was like, no, I've already said no, but I'm so happy that they did come, because it changed my mind, it changed my wife's mind, and that night, I felt so much better about, I'm not only taking this job, I'm attacking this job, and I can't wait to get to campus and start that, with everything we have to do, and so I'm glad that's the last question, because we got work to do, Jack.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Players, media, family, staff, everybody, thank you. Please drive home safely. Have a good night. Thank you.